Good evening, folks, and welcome to Citizens of the World. As you know, we are a community that's global in nature, and every week I try to do this to demonstrate that our thoughts and our opinions resonate well beyond our own borders. I'm really very excited today. I'm sitting here at the Palm Beach County Convention Center, and it is the beginning of the week, and today we are experiencing the Palm Beach International Strategic Forum, the International Economic Forum of the Americas. That will go on for 2 days this week, and then later on in the week, Palm Beach Atlantic University will be hosting the World Leadership Conference, which is an inaugural 2-day event at the West Palm Beach campus of Palm Beach Atlantic University. It's just an amazing demonstration of how far and how fast the international commerce and trade elements of this community are beginning to take off. I want to just talk a little bit about the conference. The conference is a global economic summit addressing the world's major economic issues. It's being held for the second time right here in Palm Beach County, and I made a couple of notes on the paperwork that they've given out. There are there's almost 3 dozen people from places around the world, as far away as Afghanistan, as close as the Caribbean Basin. The forum is dedicated to the idea of global partnerships. It's dedicated to the idea of what to do to increase international trade, not only hemispherically but globally, and it is being attended by some very significant people. I refer you to International Economic Forum, the Palm Beach Strategic Forum, and you can pick that up on the website at any given time. We have the governor present today giving a speech, and we are very excited about what's going on. So a couple of things that play into this. This week, of course, this past weekend, of course, was the Summit of the Americas. One of the major discussions today was free trade in the Americas. One of the major discussions today was what the private sector and what the government sectors need to be doing. Very consistent with what went on at the Summit of the Americas. And we're going to talk more about that on Thursday's show, but for purposes of today, we wanted to reference it. I also want to first of all, let me take care of some housing stuff. As you know, Citizens of the World is brought to you, the first segment, which is our intro and our format, is brought to you by Fugazi International Travel in Boca Raton, Florida. And as you know, we consider Boca Raton, Florida to be the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere. So we thank Fugazi for bringing it forward. And when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about a little bit about immigration and economic development, and we're going to show some of the interviews that we've done with the participants here in the forum. Thank you. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, folks. I want to take a few moments to just go over what has gone on here in this event. The opening plenary session had representatives from Bank America, the World Policy Journal, and had speakers from Uruguay, the Central Bank of Uruguay. He was actually introduced as the Ben Bernanke of Uruguay. His name was Mario Brigada. But what I found most important was the speakers from Brazil and from the World Bank, which demonstrated that there is a global issue that still needs to be addressed and moving forward. After that, the most interesting session of the day was Brazil. As you know, we've been talking about Brazil for a long time. There were a couple of statistics that I found very interesting. First of all, there are about $18 billion in trade that's going on between Florida and Brazil, which is an amazing number. Second, I wanted to talk about they told me that there was 162 days on average for a person, a Brazilian, who wanted to travel from Brazil to come to the United States for investment purposes, for visiting purposes, for medical purposes, etc. What was noted by the speaker by Gray Swope, the Florida head of Florida's international efforts, was that the federal government has committed to opening up new opportunities. In the next couple of minutes, we're going to actually show you some snippets from people that we interviewed. We interviewed Manny Mencier, we interviewed from Enterprise Florida, we interviewed Dennis Grady from the Chamber of the Palm Beaches, we interviewed Dan Mangrew, who is a commentator and businessman on the island of Palm Beach, and a few other people. We're going to do a sort of a snippet of some of their opinions and observations with regards to the show, in particular to how it focuses on Palm Beach County, and it really extends the notion that Palm Beach County, particularly South Palm Beach County, is the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere. So with that said, the snippets will follow. This is an incredible event, it looks like, so far today. Have you been here from the very beginning?
I've been here from the very beginning since last year, and what the group has been able to do has been quite amazing. They've been able to bring a global focus to Palm Beach and bring the problems of the world, whether those be what's going on with the economies of Latin America, which are burgeoning emerging markets, as well as what's going on with Europe and the sovereign debt crisis that we have there. And they've managed to take all of these different problems around the world and bring them into a strategic platform, not in New York City or Davos or Washington, D.C., but bring them to the heart of Palm Beach County, which is West Palm Beach, and do it so in a way that is outside of the political structure so that we can really talk about the issues and kind of get down to business.
You know, on my show, Citizen of the World, I take the position that South Florida is the epicenter of the Western Hemisphere. Certainly the programming this morning had a lot to do with Latin America, South America, the Caribbean, and particularly Brazil. Brazil seems to be an exploding economy for our interests here in South Florida.
Well, Brazil is one of the few economically sustainable economies that we have in the world. They don't need anybody else to survive or exist, whether it's down to their energy resources, their manufacturing. They're just a very diverse economy. So they're a unique animal in and of itself, and Latin America has learned from the lessons of hyperinflation, and they've managed to rebound on their economy.
Dennis Grady, how are you?
Good, Al. How are you?
Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. Earlier today, Gray Swope from Enterprise Florida encouraged people to become active members in the Florida Chamber and in the local chambers to help expand international trade, international commerce, and to grow our economy. I assume, I know you'll support that proposition, but it's very interesting to me that the international market has found its way to Palm Beach County, and we are here, and it is growing, and there's so much activity. Your thoughts as the head of the chamber here with regards to international trade and whether our companies are actually reacting positively to it?
Well, I think Gray touches on a very important issue for us, and that's the fact that coming out of the recession, we realized that the mainstays of the past 25 years of the economic model in South Florida of construction, retail, and those type of entities are not the only vehicles that will take us to economic success in the future. Foreign trade and investment and interaction, we're later to the game than I'd like to say we are. I think the important message from Gray is the fact that Florida, and especially South Florida, needs to play an aggressive role in extending our local businesses into foreign trade and commerce. We are late to the game. People in Atlanta and Savannah have been actively engaged in this type of activity for a number of years, successfully, not only for their states, but for their local economies. We're not talking just about large corporations. We're talking about small and medium-sized businesses who can find markets and suppliers and engage in the type of trade and commerce that will economically benefit their activities here in Palm Beach County. I think that will be not only an Enterprise Florida move, but also the Florida Chamber. Mark Wilson will touch on the importance of that role in the future economic model for the state of Florida.
Manny Mencier, Enterprise Florida, thank you very much, first of all, for allowing me to be your guest here today. Palm Beach County, the forum, it's a big step for us to come in international trade. Please.
No question. I think this is a conference that has the potential to become one of the foremost gathering of international business leaders, It has enormous potential I believe, on the long term to become a defining event, not only for Palm Beach, but for Florida. As you've seen, we've attracted close to or over 900, I understand, registrants to the conference today over the 2-day period. This is only the second year. So I think this could be a conference that will help expand Palm Beach reputations as a business center in places around the world, and not only that, contribute significantly to Florida's continued emergence as a global gateway.
But you know, this is a testament to you. You've been singing the international trade song for a long time. It's a huge expanse for South Florida. Some of the statistics that have been put out there today are just incredible. Are we still on an upward swing in South America?
Indeed, about 35% increase in exports over the last 2 years. We're well on pace to more than double our exports over the 5-year period of the National Export Initiative. So Florida certainly is doing its part. The outlook is very good. It's good for, it's good in the Latin American region, which tends to be good for us.
One last question, visas. Are we going to get better output from the federal government with regards to visas? One gentleman said there was 162 days on average to get a visa to come to the United States from Brazil.
It remains a challenge, but one of the positive sides of it is that the U.S. government has pledged to increase the personnel and increase the number of offices in Brazil. Apparently, Sao Paulo and Porto Alegre and Belo Horizonte are in line for consulates. Plus, they are going to increase the personnel in Brazil significantly. Of course, our hope is at some point in the future, visa waiver will be there for us.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Tony, you and I have been doing a lot of airtime lately, and we both find ourselves in the same place at the same time. So I thought we'd take a moment and just chat. This Palm Beach Stratgic Forum, it's a very significant event to bring to Palm Beach County. Lawrence, how are you? Good to see you. And so I thought maybe you'd share some of your thoughts on how it helps the realtor and the realty market.
Well, I think it's, first of all, it's the International Economic Forum of the Americas. And the Americas, starting back in 1995, President Clinton tried to get off the ground the FTAA, which was supposed to be the free trade area of the Americas.
Right, exactly.
And they gave themselves 10 years to see that all these countries, that actually about 37 of them, signed protocols saying this is what we want to do, open up the trade going north and south instead of east and west on the globe. The problem was no one anticipated in Hugo Chavez and some of the other people that threw the monkey wrench in the gears of cohesiveness. And so this is really important, I think, for all of us, because the amount of trade that's going to happen with Brazil, with Argentina, with several other countries. We had that presentation on Uruguay, which was just phenomenal. And I do a lot of that when I teach my international courses on Uruguay, because I think a lot of people in the States have no concept that they've got places that look stunningly like Miami. I mean, big yachts and beautiful high-rises and condominiums and such, and I think there's an opportunity for us to be doing business with people from there to here and from here to there. And as people start to look further for retirement opportunities and investment opportunities, why not invest in your backyard in the Americas?
Well, welcome back, folks. As you know, the last person that you saw on that snippet was Tony Macaluso, and his segment will be following. Just wanted to remind you that this last segment has been brought to you by Palm Beach Investment and Finance. That's Palm Beach Regional Center, and you can look them up at www.palmbeachregionalcenter.com. That's the EB5 company that allows for foreign investors to invest and acquire status in the United States because of that investment and the creation of jobs. So at this point in time, we're going to break. We're not going to break, but we're going to go right into Tony's piece. Tony is going to give us his weekly commentary on international trade as it relates to real estate, and we are very pleased to have him again. So here you go. Tony Macaluso, take it away.
Thanks, Al. I appreciate coming back again and doing an international segment for you. You know, I think a lot of your viewers probably have heard the comment, the BRIC countries, B-R-I-C, the BRIC countries. It's in the newspapers, it's in magazines now, and maybe some of your viewers might be wondering, what are they talking about? Well, the BRIC countries are some of the most solid emerging economies on the face of the planet. BRIC stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and China. These are economies that by 2050 are supposed to eclipse the United States in terms of productivity and GDP. These are emerging economies that are coming out at a rapid rate. You know, the Brazilians, for instance, as an example, have been doing very, very well. Just about 2007, 2008, Miami was in the doldrums. They had about 65,000 condo units that were built in that particular time frame, and then the market fell apart, and there they were. All the people that were trying to project how long it would take to absorb 65,000 condominiums was thinking that it might be a 10 or 15-year supply. And the fact is, almost all of them are gone now. And where did they go? Mostly it was people that came up from Brazil. They saw a great opportunity, beautiful vistas of the ocean. Fact is, even Boca has gotten some spillover about what is available, but the fact is they absorbed a lot of this excess inventory that developers were literally going bust over, thinking, how will we ever sell all this stuff? And the fact is, one of the BRIC countries doing extremely well, starting to look out beyond their borders to invest in properties that meet their criteria. For the Brazilians, they like cities, they like nightlife, they love places to eat, and certainly we have the best of restaurants here in South Florida from Palm Beach County all the way down to Miami-Dade, without a doubt. The second one of the BRIC countries is Russia. Russia, here in Florida, Sunny Isles, which is a community in Miami-Dade, is now a substantial Russian community, much like Brighton Beach was in New York, and Seattle, Washington has a big Russian community. Also, Eastern Europeans kind of came along with the same ideas. Money is made in many of these countries. I've traveled most of them, including Russia, on several trips. And the fact is that you've got about 10% of the population that's extremely wealthy in almost every one of the Eastern Bloc countries, and of course the rest are not so well off. It has got the second largest reserves, Russia, of oil in the world, of known reserves. First is Saudi Arabia, second is Russia. I was tracking this earlier last year, and the fact was, 1 month, the Russians outproduced the Saudis in terms of their output of oil to the international community. The other thing to think about in Russia is they are one of the major gold suppliers in the world, and with gold trading up at $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 an ounce, you can imagine how much money and wealth is going into Russia. While I was in Istanbul, Turkey last year, they were building brand new condos. They were 30% sold before they even got them out of the ground, and I asked who was buying them. The fact was it was Russians that were going down there, finding it very convenient to go. They're coming here. They're literally going around the world. So here's some of the BRIC money coming in our direction. Third one is India. India, one of the larger populations on earth, 1.1 billion people, and are expected to eclipse the Chinese with 1.4 in the next 10 years because, well, the Chinese put a little limitation on population growth, the Indians did not. India has Mumbai, which is supposed to be the Silicon Valley, with a tremendous amount of high-tech operations. I was there in Hyderabad, India, which is in a little different area, in a place called High Tech City, a huge conference center. And I was speaking at the National Association of Realtors India Convention. Third convention with over 1,000 attendees. So there's no question about India's stake in the world and their understanding of real estate activities. There's no question about the fact that they have a great business in elective surgeries. They've got hospitals that compare to the Four Seasons Hotel here, and so they're putting their stake in high tech and in medical services so that they can service the rest of the world community. China being the last one. What can you say about China with 1.4 billion people? Certainly most of what you pick up in your stores today are made in China. The fact is that money will come back. It's coming back one way or the other. It's going around the world buying up tremendous amounts of assets as we tend to feed them a lot with our treasury notes. But look at the BRIC countries in the future to have a major stake in what's going on in the world, international real estate. For more information, portsideproperties.com. And I'm just going to turn it back over to Al. Thanks, Al.
Well, here we go, folks. We're going into my favorite part of the show. We're going to do fireworks and politics. Today we're actually going to cover two things. The first one that I want to cover is consistent with the theme of the show today. Recently, last week actually, the city of Lake Worth, Florida, has encouraged some international trade activity. In fact, what they've done is they've authorized one of their commissioners, Suzanne Mullaville, to travel to Germany for purposes of bringing to a forum over there the fact that Lake Worth is actually open for business and looking to develop an international presence. Now, when you read the local newspapers with regards to that, and then you read the blogs that attach to most things, you find all sorts of naysayers, all sorts of people that come up with really bad reasons for why the city shouldn't spend what amounts to about $2,500 in expenditures to have her make this trip. I wanted to take the position, so I wrote a letter to the editor. I'm going to read, actually I wrote a letter to the commissioner herself, and I'm going to read my letter to her and take this as an editorial point of view. I said, congratulations, Commissioner. International trade does not just happen. It takes leadership and commitment. Please do not let the naysayers or the press deter you from your efforts. The merits for attracting international trade are all around. The Palm Beach Stratgic Forum is an internationally focused event at our convention center this past Monday and Tuesday. Palm Beach Atlantic University is hosting the World Leadership Conference this Wednesday and Thursday. Palm Beach State College's Small Business Development Center is focusing on international trade and export opportunities. Palm Beach Business Development Board is traveling internationally with Enterprise Florida and attracting new corporate relocations. Palm Beach County's Convention and Visitors Bureau has also traveled internationally recently to countries like Brazil and Colombia, and the Port of Palm Beach recently landed a large user from their travels to Brazil with the governor. The examples are significant and growing. Models of great political leadership in international trade can be found in the efforts of past Florida officials like Governors Childs and Bush, Mayors Hood in Orlando, Greco in Tampa, and Delaney in Jacksonville. Governor Scott clearly is a globalist for international trade to Florida, but political leadership in Palm Beach County in the past has been lacking. I tried to get this done with the World Trade Center back in the 90s and early 2000s, but it was way too far ahead of its time. The time is now. I encourage you to continue down the road, and will offer you any insights and assistance that may be possible. Thank you, Commissioner Mullaville, for doing this. Your leadership is needed. We need more people like you. Now, that's my first segment in Fireworks and Politics. My second segment in Fireworks and Politics is a little different. I want to talk about Congressman Allen West and his assertion that 72 members of the Democratic Party in Congress today are members, or should be members of the Communist Party. The reality is that when the commentators on the left talk about the Republican Party, they say that it has converged so far to the right that even Ronald Reagan couldn't be elected because of their conservative platform. Well, you know, the other side is absolutely true. So although Congressman West may have exaggerated just a bit, or may have used an inartful form of expressing himself, the reality is that the left has gone so far to the left that even John F. Kennedy couldn't be elected president, or couldn't win the platform in today's politics. So back off, folks. Congressman West is clearly a gentleman, clearly a well-educated and ready to move forward with this country. So, with that said, let's go to kudos and chaos. I already gave a major kudos for Lake Worth, and Lake Worth's taking up traveling to Germany. That's great. KO. A couple of weeks ago, the president had a conversation on the phone with a young lady whose husband couldn't find a job. He attempted to help find him a job. You know what? The paper reported that he's still unable to find a job. So the president wasn't able to deter that. Maybe that's a sign of his stimulus actually not working. I gave the kudos to the Small Business Development Center at Palm Beach State College. They are effectively doing an excellent export opportunity forum, and they are teaching small and medium-sized businesses the meaning of export. And I wanted to give a big KO to the, actually it's a kudu, to the father who's attempting to get his children back. He was deported from the United States, and now the state has taken his children and they've put them in parental custody. They've put them in a foster home, and they're now taking the children and giving the children up for adoption. I think that that is critically wrong, and we'll be taking that stuff up. Finally, double kudu. Today, April 15th was tax day. Today, April 15th was the first day that you didn't have to pay anymore in your contributions to Social Security and other matters, and it is the day that your tax bill is actually due. So, just for point of reference, April 15th this year has a double meaning. And finally, a double KO to the city of Boca Raton. Today is the first day of the beginning when fines will be attached to you rolling through a red light in I think 6 intersections in the state, in the city of Boca Raton. With all of that said, I want to bring the show to a close. I want to thank you very much for joining me here on Citizens of the Week. Your host, Al Zucaro, remind you that our opinions and our attitudes resonate well beyond our borders, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be involved in the politics, the culture, and the governance of what it means to be a citizen of the world. Thank you and good night.